again to Across the Goal Line, a sports podcast brought to you by diehard fans Corey Maines and Luke Gossar with you here today. And we have the following to bring you on the topic list. We'll take you up to the semifinal round of the U.S. Open. We have predictions for both UFC 203 and WWE Backlash, and also we have our picks for the upcoming week for both college and pro football, as well as results from the previous week too, at least for college for this week. Next week we'll add in NFL for that because, of course, the NFL season begins this week on Thursday. But first we get into anything else. We also have our NASCAR result. We'll get to that in a second. But first, we go to that question of the week from last week. We talked about Colin Kaepernick, what he's doing, not standing for the national anthem. And we asked you guys whether you liked or disliked that. And on Twitter, our poll, you guys said 86% of you disagree with Colin Kaepernick's actions, saying that you do not like him not standing up for the national anthem. So we'll just leave that there. And so now let's get into our very first topic for this week. As we typically do, it's your weekly NASCAR result. And for this week, we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to take it to Luke for the NASCAR race here from Darlington last Sunday.
Yes, this past week at Darlington, it was a throwback race won by Martin Truex Jr. His second win of the season, I believe. I know he had a close call at Daytona back in February with Denny Hamlin. As I said, it was a throwback race. The car color schemes were dedicated to previous drivers who drove either that number or that brand, say like Lowe's or DuPont or Sharpie or something like that back in the day. But yeah, Martin Truex won. Let's see if he can get it done this weekend, as well as it's the last race before the chase starts. They're at Richmond International Raceway this Saturday night. It's a night race in September now, unlike previous years when it was on a Sunday afternoon. The spring race was always at night, but now that's on a Sunday afternoon. So really all they did was just switch the times for both of the races. And then, as I said, this is the last race before the chase starts. The next week they'll be at Chicagoland. And this is pretty much the last race. If you haven't won, or you're not in the points standings, you better get your act together if you want to win a championship this season.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have that result next week as we go towards the chase in NASCAR. And now we're going to go to the U.S. Open for tennis. And as of today, Wednesday it is, there are two semifinal matches that have been set, one on the men's side and on the women's side. Two matches each still to be played on each side to try to decide who will be in that final semifinal match on the men and women's side. On the women's side, number 2 in the world, Angelique Kerber, continues her quest to become number 1 in the world to take over Serena Williams' mark that she's been holding for quite a while now, as she will take on Caroline Wozniacki in the semifinals. Kerber has been great all season, and she's continued that here at the U.S. Open, as Wozniacki has returned to a form that kind of resembles what she was doing when she was the number 1 player in the world way back when. Kerber defeated number 7 Roberta Vinci of Italy in the quarterfinals to make it here in the semifinals, while Wozniacki defeated unranked Anastasia Sevastova of Latvia handily, mostly due to an ankle injury suffered by Sevastova in the first set of that match. She absolutely destroyed her in that match, 6-love, 6-2. So the final 2 spots for that women's semifinal, as I just mentioned, world number 1 Serena Williams, she will be in a match here tonight as she faces her toughest test of this tournament as she takes on number 5 in the world, Simona Halep. And number 10, Karolina Pliskova, takes on Ana Konja of Croatia, who defeated the number 4 ranked player in the world, who was also bidding to become the number 1 player in the world, Agi Radwanska from Poland. She defeated her in the previous round, the round of 16. Now, on the men's side of things, world number 1 Novak Djokovic has had a pretty easy road to the semifinals as he will take on number 10 in the world, Gael Monfils of France, in the first of the men's semifinals, as both players have looked pretty good in this tournament, both not dropping a single set en route to the semifinals. Now, Djokovic, I said he had a pretty easy route because he had a walkover in the second round, which basically means that he didn't even have to play a match because the guy quit. Basically, he had to pull out of the tournament before the match even started, and he's only played actually 2 entire matches. All the other matches that he's played up to this point have been shortened due to injuries or the like, at least. He's only played 9 sets in total to reach the semifinals, which is the lowest mark in U.S. Open history, dating all the way back to 1979, which the previous record was 11, and that would be John McEnroe from 1979. There's also 3 instances in 1977 as well, where just 11 sets were needed to reach the semifinals, but that was a different era then. And now this is just pretty impressive. So we got the best player in the world, at least in rankings-wise, making it all the way to the semifinals without having to do too much. Despite that, he is the best player in the world. I mean, he probably wouldn't have had much problem anyway getting here, but nevertheless. He defeated Joe Willie Songa, the number 9 player as Songa retired with a leg injury at the start of the third set. I think it was first game of the third set, about second or third point into that set. Songa serving, he decided to give it up right then and there. Could not continue. As Monfils, he defeated his fellow Frenchman and the 24 seed Luca Pouille, rather. He's French. After Pouille defeated number 4 Rafael Nadal in the previous round, the round of 16, in a 5-set match. That was a pretty exciting match if you watched it. Also pretty exciting if just looking at the scoreline. Tiebreaker in the final set, something that kind of plays with your emotions and kind of adds some tension with each and every point, because anyone can win at that point when you get to a tiebreaker. Now, the 2 quarterfinal matches today, we have Andy Murray, number 2 player in the world, looking for his second straight major after winning Wimbledon, the last major. He also won the Olympic gold medal in between those two tournaments now. That doesn't really count in terms of the world rankings or anything, so he didn't really gain any ground on Novak Djokovic, but he's getting close to overtaking Novak as the number 1 player in the world. He'll take on number 6 seeded Kei Nishikori from Japan, as number 3 seed Stan Wawrinka takes on Juan Martín Del Potro, who is unranked in this tournament, but he's on the course back to being in the top, as he coming back from lots of injuries, mostly wrist injuries that he suffered previously. He just won the silver medal at the Rio Olympics, but again, that doesn't really help his rankings because the Olympics don't factor in, because they are every 4 years, of course, so it doesn't really factor into actual rankings. So those 2 matches, those 4 guys will be playing for his spot in the semifinal round. And then eventually in the finals, which will be on Sunday, the women's final will be on Saturday, and then you have the men's on Sunday. That's how it always is. So we'll have to see who makes it there and who ends up walking out of Flushing Meadows there as the champions, respectively, for each gender, I guess. So now we'll get into some predictions now as we go to UFC 203. And again, typically we have it all the time, 5 matches, as we've done it. This is our 3rd time doing some UFC, I do believe. No, 4, because we started with 200, yes. So, yeah, so 5 matches. Of course, there's a whole bunch of other matches, as I always say, on the undercard. But
the prelims.
Yeah, the prelims. But we just picked kind of the 5 main fights that you have to really pay for
on the main card.
Yeah, on the main card. So we'll start at the very bottom. Women's strawweight match. Jessica Andrade taking on Joanne Calderwood. So, Luke, who do you have in this match?
Calderwood.
All right, you're going to go Calderwood. I will go Calderwood as well. Regular men's bantamweight fight. Uriah Faber taking on Jimmy Rivera.
Rivera.
I'm going to go Uriah Faber. I am familiar with Uriah Faber. I've watched some of his matches before when I was actually into UFC at the time. But he is probably getting a lot older now, I suppose. I'm not quite sure. But I'll take the veteran Faber in this one.
I think so. He'd be getting older. Everybody gets older.
Yeah. So this is a match that I know you're really excited for, Luke. The welterweight fight, as former WWE superstar CM Punk takes on Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall. Yes.
Gall.
In his first ever UFC fight, much anticipated fight. He's supposed to make this debut a while ago, but some injuries or whatnot have pushed it back to this point, UFC 203. So who are you going to take in this one?
Hey, everything happens for a reason. When it's the right time to fight, it's the right time to fight. Obviously, I'm going to take Phil Brooks, CM Punk. I do think Mickey Gall is a punk. So, especially with, Punk's history with professional wrestling, being a professional wrestling fan, you can't root against one of my favorites. So I have to take Punk in this welterweight fight.
I'm taking Gall, the inexperience of Punk, coupled with he's not exactly I don't think he's really much of a fighter, I would say. It's also interesting when you look at it, the reason he left WWE, injuries and stuff, he's going to a more violent, more real, life injuries can happen in sport. It's kind of ironic. But I've also seen and heard that he's lost in training bouts, training sparring sessions, and that kind of worries me. That
everybody loses some. I mean, you got to lose some.
Yeah, but you're losing to not even a real match is the problem. You're losing not even in a real match. So what is he going to do on the big stage? I think he's going to get his ass whipped in this match, honestly.
If he does, who knows if he'll, have another fight in the UFC. Maybe he's a one and done. I don't think he is, because I think he'll win this Saturday in Cleveland. And then, who knows? He might be UFC champ in the future. But if he does get his ass kicked, he might be smart about it and might want to come back to professional wrestling. He has said he will not go back to WWE, But if the money's right, the money's right. I could see him back in the WWE ring. Pretty much everybody who's left WWE before has come back at some point later in their career. But we'll have to see if he does, go back to professional wrestling if the UFC does not work out for Mr. Brooks.
All right. Co-main event, I guess you could say, is a heavyweight belt as Fabricio Werdum takes on Travis Brown. So, Luke, who do you have?
Travis Brown.
Travis Brown it is. I'm going to go Fabricio Werdum in this match. All right, now the main event and the namesake of the event, heavyweight bout for the title, heavyweight championship, as Stipe Miocic takes on Alistair Overeem. Luke, who do you have?
Miocic. This UFC event is in Cleveland, Ohio. Miocic is from Cleveland, Ohio. It's his hometown. The fans are going to be behind him 110%. So I wouldn't be surprised if he knocks him out. I wouldn't be surprised if this bout goes, 5 rounds though either.
I will also take Miocic to retain his title in this one. I'm not really quite sure what to expect. I'm not really going for that hometown advantage thing that you're going with. You're kind of citing there. But I do think he is the better fighter, and he will be on this night. So that's where I'll leave it.
I mean, home field advantage does factor in a lot for mostly every single sport. But, we'll have to see come Saturday night.
Yes, we will. All right. We're going to move on now, and we have college football. And last week we picked some games for you, and, the results are in, and I am pretty much way better at Luke than this, apparently. At least this week, because
this past week you were.
Yes, we picked a total of 15 games. I came out with 10-5 in my picks. Luke was 7-8.
Yeah.
I mean, you made some. You did take a stretch a couple times.
The stretch I took was Auburn defeating Clemson.
That was the big one.
That was the big one. Clemson was number 2 in the country. They still currently are. After the week 1, after the week 2 poll results came out. Just the other day. But Auburn almost beat them. It came down to Hail Mary at the end of the game, and it was batted down in the end zone. So if there would have been a couple more minutes or even another 30 seconds, Auburn might have won that game.
Yeah, you can't really blame all these losses that we got and our picks because there's a bunch of upsets too. We had,
exactly.
Oklahoma, they lost. They were number 3 in the nation.
That's the fun thing about college football. There's going to be upsets every single week.
Yeah, you had LSU losing to Wisconsin. Texas A&M beat UCLA
in overtime.
Yes, Texas beat Notre Dame, which is kind of a shocking one
in double overtime.
So there's so many upsets. So let's ask the question here: what do you think was the best upset from this past weekend?
I'd have to say Texas over Notre Dame. The game was in Austin. Texas was at home. They started a true freshman quarterback for the first time since 1944. And Shane Buechele. Kid has an arm. Don't be surprised if he's playing on Sundays. Yeah, don't be surprised if he's playing on Sundays. I know I said that he just played his first college football game. But, like I said, he's got a cannon of an arm. Texas, I think they surprised a lot of people. A lot of people said, Charlie Strong's on the hot seat. He still is, in my opinion. And he even said one game does not make a season. You still have 11, 12 more games. But the biggest upset, in my opinion, was Texas over Notre Dame. It did take 2 overtimes, but they got the job done in the end.
Yeah,
and beat the Fighting Irish. Exactly, win's a win.
Win's a win. I'm going to have to go with that as well because you're talking about Texas. You're talking about Charlie Strong. He's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
I don't think many people really expected Texas to even contend with Notre Dame in this game, I don't think.
No, I said last week Notre Dame would win, and they would win big, just as they did last year in South Bend.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and then, Texas really surprised me.
Yeah, they're a big surprise there. I'm going to go with them as well as the biggest upset from this weekend. Of course, you could have picked Wisconsin over LSU.
Yeah,
I mean,
or A&M over UCLA.
Yeah, you could have picked any of these games, but I think Texas, no one really expected it. But now look at them. They're ranked in the top 25 now. I think they're at 11 or something now it is. And first time they're being ranked ever under Charlie Strong. So pretty good on them. They're on their way, possibly, this season. Maybe Charlie Strong will be able to keep his job.
Possibly. We'll have to see about that.
All right, so...
As he said, one game does not make or break a season.
Yes.
So
All right, so
we'll see.
We did best upset. What do you think the best game was? Was that the best game? Double overtime game? Maybe? Do you think
that game was very exciting to watch? I'd have to say it's tied for the best game this past week. It was either that Texas Notre Dame game or that Ole Miss Florida State game. The Texas Notre Dame game, as you said, went to double overtime, and then Tyrone Swoops, big 18-wheeler there, won the game on a 10-yard scramble right up the middle, and then Ole Miss was ahead, at halftime, 28-13, and then Florida State came back and took the lead 29-28, and outscored them, I believe, 30-6 in the second half, something like that, and won the game. So it's either the Texas Notre Dame game or the Ole Miss Florida State game. Florida State, they didn't give up. They fought the whole way to the end. As Jimbo Fisher has said, 60 minutes is the entire game, not 30 minutes. Ole Miss won the first half, Florida State won the second half and the game. So those two games are tied for the best game of the week this past week for me.
I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go Florida State just edging out that Texas game. The comeback was pretty unreal, you'd have to say, because, down 22 points. I'm sure a lot of people maybe turned off the TV possibly at that point, changed it to something else that night.
To be honest with you, I did turn channel, and then I turned it back on, and it was 29-28, and I said, what the hell happened?
It's one of those things, you come back, you're like, oh, let's see what it is now. Like, you're expecting the worst, and then you come back. It's like a 5-point game or something like that. Now you're invested, now you're getting excited that maybe they can pull this off. Like, it's kind of that kind of thing.
Yep.
But also, you have the argument with Notre Dame and Texas. Double overtime, and especially college overtime, it's a lot more exciting because, you got that short field. You're like, well, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, and you know what makes this even more fun, Corey?
What?
Both of these games are non-conference games. You don't see these week in and week out. You see them either at the beginning of the season or at the end of the season during the bowl games. So that's another reason why these two games were real fun to watch, and you had to see what happened.
Another reason why they're calling this one of the best college football opening weekends because all these big non-conference games, ranked versus ranked opponents too. So
yeah, and as you said, ranked versus ranked opponents. There was 4 games that were ranked versus ranked opponents. Oklahoma, Houston, North Carolina, Georgia, USC, Alabama, Notre Dame, Texas, and Ole Miss, Florida State. 5, excuse me, not 4.
Yeah,
5.
No. You're right. 4. No, Texas is unranked. They're ranked now.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I was right the first time. Caught myself off guard there for a second. So for those, at least 4 top 25 teams lost, but then you also have another 3 teams that lost, make it a total of 7. So 7 top 25 teams lost this past weekend. It was the most losses by ranked teams on opening weekend. As you said, they were quoting it the best opening weekend in college football history. Well, this was the most losses by ranked teams on an opening weekend in college football history. Not a good thing to be part of, but it's still fun to watch. Oklahoma lost to Houston, LSU lost to Wisconsin, UCLA lost to A&M, Carolina lost to Georgia. SC got, I don't even know what to say, to Alabama. They got shit kicked out of them, so they did. Notre Dame lost to Texas, as we've said, and then Ole Miss lost to Florida State.
Yeah. So
for that stat.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, also another stat, 7 SEC teams lost on the opening weekend, which is another impressive stat considering SEC has dominated college football for a while now. So
they have. They won 7 straight national championships there at one point. And then were overtaken by the Big Ten and Ohio State in 2014 when the college football playoff came around.
Also when
Florida
State won.
Well, okay, yeah, that was before that. During the BCS, yeah. And that, okay, yeah. I know what you're saying. I forgot about that. There was an SEC. They were playing an SEC team, though, in Auburn. So that's what I was thinking there for a second. And then a lot of people were thinking, when the college football playoff came around, is this a new era? Ohio State won the first college football playoff. Well, then this past year, Alabama from the SEC won again. So we'll have to see how it plays out this year.
Yeah, so, Alabama's still number one. They still took care of business here on this weekend. So.
They did, and so did Lane Kiffin. Did you see that?
I did not.
He tweeted, if you don't know the story, let me tell the story first. He was fired by USC on the LAX tarmac after they got back from losing to Arizona State in Tempe, and was fired on the tarmac. They didn't give him a ride back to campus. He had to find his own way back, and he actually tweeted out this past weekend, because he is now currently the Alabama offensive coordinator. He tweeted out a picture of his son holding one of the game balls from this past weekend's game, and used the hashtag something like LAX 3:14 a.m. or something like that, because he got the last laugh. Alabama, just demolished USC this past weekend in Arlington. All
right. So we're talking about teams like this, Alabama and stuff. They kind of impressed. So, Luke, what team impressed you the most this opening weekend?
Going back to Texas, a lot of people thought they were pretty much done for before the season even started. And there was a lot of questions going in, are they going to be different or whatnot? They got a new offensive coordinator in Sterling Gilbert, came over from Tulsa. And they started a true freshman quarterback for the first time since 1944. That's World War II, folks. And Shane Buechele. So, as I said, the kid's got an arm. I won't be surprised if he's playing on Sundays in a couple years. He's only about 6 foot, 185. So if you put on a little weight, maybe turns into the next Drew Brees. Maybe, I don't know. But Texas impressed me. Now we'll have to see how they play. Come Big 12 time. The Oklahoma game is going to be big. The Oklahoma State game is going to be big as well. And they play A&M on Black Friday like they do every year. So, and that's an SEC team. So we'll have to see.
All right, you got Texas. I'm going to go with those Alabama Crimson Tide that we were talking about just a minute ago. Absolutely dominating USC. Ranked opponent at the time. They're definitely not in the rankings anymore.
Yeah, 52-6.
Showing why they are the number one team in the world, in the nation rather. With this game, absolutely destroying a kind of a high quality opponent. It's a top big conference opponent, So it kind of really impressed me in that. They're really showing that they deserve the ranking they're given. So on the flip side, who was very disappointing for you as a team?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
How did they let that game slip away? They're up 28-13 at halftime, like I said, and they ended up losing 45-34, I believe the final score was. You got to play a full 60 minutes. You can't play, just 30 and then expect the other team just to, hand it to you and let you win, because they're not going to give up either, and that's what Florida State did. They didn't give up. Ole Miss really disappointed this past weekend.
For me, I'm gonna go LSU, because you're talking about a team preseason ranking
both
top
SEC
5
schools as well.
Yes, I know you had them winning the college football playoff or in the finals.
I have them in the college football playoff. I have them in the championship game.
Championship.
I have them going up against Michigan though.
Oh, that's right. You have Michigan.
I have Michigan winning,
of course. But you have them making all the way to the championship game. They go out here in this first weekend against Wisconsin. It is in Lambeau Field, of course, but
first college football game there.
They drop an egg. They just lay an egg on the field. They didn't put up any points. You're talking about Leonard Fournette. He was all right.
He ran the ball good, but
he ran the ball well.
They couldn't throw.
They're talking about they didn't put up any points at all. They didn't get anything going.
No.
Very disappointing from a team that's preseason ranking is top 5 in the nation. So, and especially you're high on them, I know.
Yeah, and as I said last week too, Corey. I said, if you lose the first week early in the season, especially maybe week 2, week 3, you can still get back into the hunt late in the season. You got to win out, though, and you got to have some help from other people. But LSU being the SEC, it's not like, say, Houston, if they would have lost to Oklahoma, then they would have been screwed. There would have been no chance because they're in the American Athletic Conference. Nothing against the American Athletic Conference. It's pretty much the new Big East, but they're not a Power 5 conference. So LSU being the SEC, they can still get back in the hunt. They just, like I said, they got to either win out, get some help from somebody, and see how the dominoes fall.
Yeah, but a loss to Wisconsin is kind of a big L.
It is, because Wisconsin's a powerhouse in the Big Ten. They're getting back on track. Paul Chryst doing some great things up in Madison. Really have been the same since Brett Bielema left, and when they went to 3 straight Rose Bowls, and won 3 straight Big Ten championships. So,
I mean, it shows you what the committee thinks of this loss when they drop all the way from 5 to 21 now. They're 21 in the nation now. That's
a good spot to be sitting at there right now. I mean,
they did not lose their ranking though, so
no.
They are still there.
Yeah,
but nevertheless, all right. Now we got week 2. Week 2's coming up this weekend, of course, and starting here probably tomorrow, of course. Got a couple. Do we have Cousins on Thursday, Luke?
Well, I don't have. No, it's Friday this week because college football is not going to want to go up against the NFL.
Yeah.
And you got the Super Bowl rematch, which we'll get to here in a second on Thursday night. So we only have one game on Friday night, but as Corey said, we're going to get into college football week 2 right now. And as I said last week, we want to start with some FCS games because no one else picks some FCS games. Last week I went 2-0 in FCS predictions. Corey did as well. This week we have Eastern Washington and North Dakota State. North Dakota State won their first game without Carson Wentz 2 weeks ago at home. They were off last week against Charleston Southern by a score of 24-17 in overtime. First overtime game in Fargo Dome history, too, by the way. North Dakota State's playing at home again, so I don't think it's going to take overtime. Figure this one out. North Dakota State over Eastern Washington.
I will concur with that decision there.
Okay. Next FCS game is Montana at Northern Iowa. I've taken the Grizz in this one. I've been watching Hard Knocks lately when I said I won it. I know you asked me that in Goal on Stand question light years ago. But Jeff Fisher, the head coach for the LA Rams, one of his sons, Brandon, played for Montana, is now the defensive backs coach for the Rams. So Montana over Northern Iowa.
I'm going to have to go Northern Iowa in this one.
Because they're playing at home?
That, and I honestly think Northern Iowa will win this game.
All right. Good enough. Final FCS game this week. Now, folks, we're going to try to pick 2 to 3 FCS games each week. Last week we had 2. This week we have 3. Just going to depend on, if there's good games out there or whatnot. Last one is William & Mary at Hampton. Both teams lost last week. Both the FBS teams. William & Mary lost to NC State, and Hampton lost to Old Dominion. I have to take the Tribe. I have some connections down in Williamsburg. Fun fact, these schools are 29 miles apart from each other. Hampton is 15 miles from ODU, so a little closer last week for the Pirates. But there's lots of schools down in 757 that are not that far apart. But as I said, William & Mary over Hampton should be sold out. Should be a lot of people there this weekend.
All right. I too will go William & Mary in that FCS game, our finale for the FCS for this week.
Yes. Now moving on to the FBS. I went 7-8 last week. As Corey mentioned earlier, he went 10-5. First game this week is on Friday night. Louisville at Syracuse. Lamar Jackson, Louisville's quarterback, accounted for 8 touchdowns last week against Charlotte. All in the first half, 6 passing and 2 rushing. Dino Babers, new head coach in the ACC, this year going up against Bobby Petrino, who's been around in the ACC. Petrino's going to outcoach Babers, but not by much. Louisville in a close one. The Carrier Dome can get real loud, especially on a Friday night up in Syracuse. So Louisville will still beat the Orange, though.
I'm taking Louisville in this game.
Okay. Now the next game, it's deep down in my heart. I don't think I need an explanation for this. Penn State over Pitt. Eat shit, Pitt. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. I'm taking Pitt. because screw Penn State.
Hey, you have your right to pick whoever the hell you want. So that game is on ESPN this Saturday at noon Eastern. Next game, UCF at Michigan. Our good friend Christian Leather is playing for the Knights down there in Orlando. He's redshirting this year, but I really like what Jim Harbaugh is doing up in Ann Arbor. I said that enough. They beat Hawaii last week by 60. They'll beat UFC this week, even though new UFC. Am I saying UFC or UCF? I've been saying UFC. It's UCF, folks. I just caught myself there. It's UCF, not UFC. We did talk about UFC a little bit ago, so my words are getting tangled. I'm sorry. Michigan will beat UCF this week, even though new UCF head coach Scott Frost has Big Ten ties. Played at Nebraska from 95-97. They technically weren't in the Big Ten then. They're in the Big 12, but Nebraska's in the Big Ten now. So, yeah, you get my point.
Yeah.
Michigan's just too good for the Knights right now.
Yeah, exactly. Michigan's too good. I think they're going to blow out UCF here in this game.
All right. Next is Cincinnati at Purdue. Make or to break a year for Darrell Hazel. Really hasn't done a whole lot lately in West Lafayette. I think he's won a total of 6 games in 3 years. But it's a big non-conference game for the Boilermakers. And they really haven't been relevant since Joe Tiller was the head coach. But I think Purdue pulls this one out and defeat Tommy Tuberville and the Cincinnati Bearcats.
I, too, will go with the Boilermakers in this game. I get over Cincinnati.
All right. Next is Kentucky at Florida. It used to be a big SEC conference game, but has diminished in recent years. Both teams are in the SEC East. The SEC West has been the power of the SEC in recent years. Florida's playing at home, though, in the Swamp. The Gators over the Wildcats.
Yeah, this is a game I don't really know how to go about this one. It's not a game that I'm going to want to watch or anything, but yeah, in the Swamp, I'll have to go Florida as well.
All right.
All right. We have Arkansas taking on 14 seed TCU.
14th ranked.
14th ranked, whatever.
Seed is for college basketball.
Yeah,
for the
seed's
tournament.
ranked. They're almost the same.
It's almost the same. It sounds better.
Yeah. 14th ranked TCU, but I'm going to go TCU in this one. It is another kind of a little bit of an interesting non-conference game here.
Yeah, it's Big 12 SEC, excuse me. Both teams had close calls last week. TCU defeated South Dakota State 59-41. It was real close in the third quarter there, but then TCU pulled out in the fourth. And then Arkansas defeated Louisiana Tech 21-20. I really like Brett Bielema when he was at Wisconsin. I still like him now in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and an upset over TCU.
All right. We have Virginia Tech taking on 17th ranked Tennessee, who was kind of a disappointment last week when they barely won their game last week. They dropped from 9th in the rankings to 17 now. So with that, I'm going to take Virginia Tech in the upset here over Tennessee.
Yeah, the game's at Bristol Motor Speedway. Yes, a racetrack. It's going to be on ABC in prime time, 8 o'clock. Also, we're college game days out this week. And they're going to set the attendance record for this game, Corey. North of 150,000 people they're expecting. It's going to be a fun game to watch. Like I said, it's the first ever game. Last week, just like last week, it was a fun game to watch. First college football game at Lambeau Field. And then you got this game at a racetrack. Never been done before. Tennessee almost got upset last week at home versus App State. I know you've been talking about them a lot off air here. But this game smack dab in the middle between two schools. And the crowd of at least 150,000 will probably split down the middle. But you're going to have your diehard fans that go to a different game, each week, I'd say. But I'm going to take Virginia Tech as well.
All right.
Next, we have a rivalry game. Battle of Cy-Hawk Trophy, 64th overall meeting between Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa leads Iowa State 41-22. Iowa is a part of the Big Ten and reigning Big Ten champs, so Hawkeyes over the Cyclones.
Yeah, Iowa over Iowa State. Iowa State does not really have that great of a football program there, so they're more college basketball better in that category. So yeah, Iowa they're the ranked team. They are the better team. They will win.
Okay. Last week I picked Arizona over BYU because they were playing at home. I later found out after we recorded I made a mistake. Arizona was the home team, but they were not playing at home. The game was in Glendale, not Tucson. They played where the Arizona Cardinals play at. That's a big factor going into the game. It's a neutral site game for the two teams then. But it was still pretty much a home game. But I was still wrong, so I own up to it. BYU plays at Utah. That's this game this week. So I can't pick against the Cougs 2 weeks in a row. BYU over the Utes.
I'm going to have to go BYU. I picked them last week over Arizona.
You did.
And they got the job done. I'm going to stick with them here in this one.
All right. Now, another pretty interesting non-conference game. You got an ACC school traveling to a Big Ten school. You got the Tar Heels of North Carolina going to the Fighting Illini of Illinois. These two teams met in Chapel Hill last year, and the Tar Heels won 48-14. Illinois is improved this year with new head coach Lovie Smith, who coached in the NFL before for the Chicago Bears. But UNC is one of the best in the ACC. But this game's in Champaign, and Lovie Smith's part of that Tampa 2 defense when he was an assistant down in Tampa Bay will stop Carolina's up tempo offense, in my opinion. Wouldn't be surprised if this game does go to overtime, but Illinois will be victorious either way.
I'm going to have to go Illinois at home. North Carolina did just lose in week 1 there to Georgia in a pretty big matchup there, ranked matchup, 18 versus 22 last week at least. But I like what Lovie Smith's doing there in Illinois, so I'm going to have to go Illinois at home over the Tar Heels.
All right. Corey, did you see a YouTube video this past week of a WWE-themed match for the Texas Tech Red Raiders?
Yeah, you showed me it just earlier before you started here.
Well, you're supposed to say something else to go with it, but oh well. Anyways, Texas Tech's playing at Arizona State. I just asked Corey if he saw it. I did show it to him. I was trying to make it better for this, but oh well. If you didn't, look it up right here on YouTube. It's pretty good. As a big wrestling fan myself, and I think Corey is too, so I'm going to have to take Texas Tech or the Arizona State Sun Devils. As I said, if you didn't see it, look it up. Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach, dressed up as John Cena, and then one of the assistants dressed up as the Miz, and he put him through a table. I'll say that.
All right.
So who do you have in this match?
I'm going to have to take the Sun Devils of Arizona State.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Because they're playing at home again?
Sure, why not?
You really don't care?
I don't know. I'm not really caring about that game. Honestly.
Okay. It's going to be a late game. It's probably I believe it starts at 10 o'clock. So all you people out west or everybody on the East Coast that likes to stay up late, be sure to tune in for that one. We have 2 more games this week. Washington State at Boise State. Mike Leach might have his best team up in Pullman, Washington, but they're going to play on the blue field in Boise, Idaho. So Boise State.
I'm going to have to go Washington State.
All right. Next, another Pac-12 team is playing host to an ACC school. Virginia's playing at Oregon. Virginia played Oregon in Charlottesville 3 years ago in 2013 when the Cavaliers were supposed to come up here to Happy Valley, Corey, and they're second in 2 games with the Nittany Lions. But they decided to cancel and have yet to return the favor. Who knows if they'll ever, reschedule it or whatnot. They canceled that second game to schedule Oregon. They obviously thought Oregon was a better non-conference game than Penn State. And the first game between Penn State and Virginia was in Charlottesville, and then they got Oregon the next year at home as well, so they didn't have to come up here. As I said, it was 3 years ago in 2013. The Ducks won big. And really, these series, when teams schedule each other, they don't have to be in back-to-back years. This is a perfect example. The first game was in 2013, and this one's in 2016, for God's sakes. But this time, that's up in Eugene, and hell, Virginia lost to Richmond last week at home. Richmond, the Spiders of Richmond. So how the hell are they going to win on the road in Autzen Stadium? Oregon's going to win big over the Cavaliers again.
Yeah, for sure. Oregon they're gonna win this game. They just cracked the rankings here this week, so they're on their way through. Maybe, who knows? It's Oregon. You never know with Oregon, I guess. But these aren't your Marcus Mariota-led Ducks or anything. But
no, I'm not. Chip Kelly head coached.
Yeah,
Ducks
but
either.
they will beat Virginia. Yeah, I mean Virginia looked really bad last week, so
they got blown out by Richmond at home.
Yeah.
Richmond.
So, yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to dive into the NFL. Also, we'll have WWE Backlash Predictions.
Do you like sports cards, video games, or collecting interesting items? Then Pastime Collectibles is the place for you. Pastime Collectibles is a collectible store in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. Pastime Collectibles sells hobby boxes, vintage cards, Nintendo games and systems, coins, jerseys, memorabilia, and more. Be sure to like Pastime Collectibles on Facebook and follow at Pastime Collect on Twitter. You can contact them by calling 814-762-1410, messaging them on either Facebook or Twitter, or you can even email them at pastime.collectibles@gmail.com. Do you like hunting, fishing, or talking about the outdoors? If so, you need to check out Downriver Outdoors, an outdoors channel on YouTube that brings you some of the best footage of hunting and fishing from the backwoods of Central PA. They also tell some great outdoors stories. Be sure to subscribe to Downriver Outdoors on YouTube.
All right, the time has come now to dive into the first week of the NFL season that gets underway here on Thursday night with a Super Bowl rematch as the Carolina Panthers go and travel to Denver to take on the Broncos, Super Bowl reigning champions, Denver Broncos. But they got a new face in Trevor Siemian at the quarterback position as Peyton Manning retired last season, and also they lost their former backup, Brock Osweiler, to free agency as well. So Trevor Siemian taking over, beating out Mark Sanchez for the job, who Mark Sanchez ended up going to Dallas to back up now, which is a Cowboys are in another saga, QB saga again.
Yes, they
this
are.
Season.
Yes, they are. Broncos do have Paxton Lynch, though, as well.
They do have him.
They drafted
waiting
him in the
wings,
first round.
But they are waiting to put him into trying to thrust him into they don't want to do that to him right now. They want to kind of let him develop a little bit first.
Actually, they traded up over Dallas to get him. Dallas was going to take him, and they traded up right before and took
so they're going to wait on Paxton Lynch for a little bit.
Took Lynch, sorry.
Yeah.
I said Siemian.
Anyway, predicting this game, so who do you have in this one? Panthers-Broncos.
Well, as you said, Siemian, he's the only quarterback in NFL history with zero. He has 0 pass attempts to take over for the defending Super Bowl champs in Week 1. The former Northwestern Wildcat did play last year, though. Played in the Pittsburgh game right before halftime because, as you said, Osweiler, former backup in Denver, got injured while he was filling in for the injured Peyton Manning at the time. It was right before Christmas. Osweiler's obviously in Houston now. Manning's obviously doing commercials. Siemian's snap was taking a knee. He took a knee. So in the stat book, he has like -2 yards rushing, but no pass attempts. He really doesn't have to play that good come tomorrow night, Thursday night, tonight, if you're listening to this. It'd be September 8th, 2016 is when the game is taking place. Because he was pretty good in college. I saw him play when Northwestern came to Happy Valley his freshman year, or redshirt freshman year. Like I said, he doesn't have to play great because they have a good running back in C.J. Anderson. And they got weapons at wide receiver and Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. And then they have an excellent defense as well, led by Von Miller and the MVP of the Super Bowl last year. Fans are going to be hyped. It's the first game of the season. To answer your question, Broncos by 3 to end the game. McManus is going to kick a game winner.
I'm going to have to go the other way on this one. I'm going to have to go Panthers in this one, mostly for the reason of Trevor Siemian being the quarterback. That inexperience at quarterback, I don't really trust that in a game like this. First game is going to be in a prime time, in the lights. It's going to be a lot of pressure for a guy like him making his first career start.
It is, I agree.
Against a Panthers team who still has a pretty stout defense. They're not super great like they were last season. They lost a couple guys, but they're still pretty stout. They will give him a lot of trouble, I do believe. Also, they're getting better on offense. Got Kelvin Benjamin back now for Cam Newton to throw to. I honestly think that it will come down to how much the Broncos defense can stop the Carolina offense. But I think the Panthers are similar. Why you think the Broncos, they don't need to do a whole lot, because I don't think the Broncos defense might not be, or the offense rather, might not be able to put up enough points to beat the Panthers.
Yeah, defense wins championships. Offense has to put up most of the points. I agree with that. I was going to say something. I literally just forgot it. It's not coming back to me. It was something about Something about quarterback position. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. Yeah, as you said, games under the lights in prime time, first career start. Perfect example was this past weekend in college football. Look at Max Brown, the quarterback for USC, going up against highly touted the Alabama defense. The reigning college football national champions. Yeah, Carolina lost, but still they made it to the Super Bowl. And they have Ron Rivera as their head coach, who played on the '85 Bears. So he knows how to coach defenses. But as you said, pressure underneath the lights. I mean, I picked the Broncos because defense wins championships, and the offense has to put up more points. But Denver is playing at home, and I think Cam Newton's going to make a mistake late in the game, and McManus hopefully will kick a game winner. I have him in fantasy football, so hopefully he kicks a lot of field goals.
I'm just saying. I don't think I
agree with what you're saying though too. Everything's all true.
Also, I'm not saying it's going to be as close as you're imagining it to be. Is the thing.
Okay.
I'm thinking more of maybe 6 to 10 point is the margin of victory for the Panthers. A lot. 10. Actually, I'd go 10. 10 or higher for the Panthers in this one.
Do you know what the spread is for this game?
I do not.
I do not either. I'll have to look into it. Anything else for that game? Nothing? Alright, we'll move on then. Come Sunday is September 11th, 2016, 15 years later after the day that no one will ever forget. First game we have for this day is the Green Bay Packers, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have both these teams in my playoff predictions. Go back and listen to those episodes. Both teams have plenty of weapons, including Green Bay, who has Jordy Nelson coming back in his first game since he tore his ACL last preseason against Pittsburgh. I like the Jags, though, since they're playing at home. I have both quarterbacks in this game for fantasy football as well, Aaron Rodgers and Blake Bortles. So I'd like it to be real high scoring, obviously. But Jacksonville, since they're playing at home. And an upset over. It
would be an upset because the Packers are going to win this game because they are definitely the best team. Probably one of the. I mean, I saw a thing that they're projected. They're the favorite in every game they play this season.
Right now, so, it might change.
Yeah, an injury or something could just change it like that. Of course.
What if Nelson goes down again?
They'll still be pretty good, of course, as long as you have number 12 there at the QB position. Then they're going to be pretty fine, of course, if they look like they have Rodgers. So, I mean. Yeah, the Jaguars, they boosted their offense. They have a really good offense, but I don't know how their defense is going to be able to hold up against a guy like Rodgers. And he's getting all those weapons back with Nelson and such. So it's going to be really hard for them to stop the high-powered offense of the Green Bay Packers. Also, at least the running back situation, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. Maybe, I don't know how they're going to split the carries or anything.
In Jacksonville?
In Jacksonville with Ivory and Yeldon and Robinson.
Denard Robinson, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, but I'm going to have to go Packers in this one.
Okay. Next game is Bears at the Houston Texans. The Bears actually just released their all-time leading scorer for kicking. I messed that up. I think I saw he's good enough. And Robbie Gould, former Penn Stater, he needs to find another job. He's one of the best in NFL history. He did have his worst season of his career last year, though. So hopefully he gets back on track. Games in Houston, though. We all saw what Houston and Oklahoma did, this past week down at NRG Stadium. I think this game's going to be close, but I think Bill O'Brien, head coach of those Houston Texans, is going to outcoach John Fox, the head coach for the Chicago Bears. And it's going to be interesting to see how Brock Osweiler plays in his first regular season game as a full-time starter after backing up Peyton Manning for the past 4 seasons. So Bill O'Brien and Houston Texans will win this game.
Yes, the Texans will win that game. I have the Bears as being one of the worst teams in the league this season. They've lost guys, Forte and Bennett, to name a few.
Yeah.
And Cutler, he's basically not been great almost ever. He's been all right at points in his career, but he's getting even worse now. John Fox is not going to be able to help him at all anyway. Texans, their defense, they got going at the end of last season. I think that carries over this season here, and I think they're gonna dominate the Bears in this one, picking on Jay Cutler a lot in this game. Probably a couple turnovers, I'd say. All right. The next game we have is a matchup between two teams that one, I think, for me at least, one I think is on the decline, one's on the going upward here. Yeah. Bengals taking on the Jets in this one. I'm going Jets because they're the team I think it's on the they're moving up in the world here because picking up good guys. They got Matt Forte taking over for Chris Ivory. Now Forte is probably a better option at running back than Ivory. Ivory's more one-dimensional, running the ball mostly. Forte gives you that option out of the backfield, and it helps Ryan Fitzpatrick as well, the quarterback there, because he has an extra weapon coming out of the backfield to go along with Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall. So, in the Bengals, they were pretty good at the start of last season, going through the entire season up until Andy Dalton got hurt. But, I've never been that high on the Bengals almost ever. But I'm going to have to go Jets in this one. I think they're going to continue and actually make the playoffs this year, so I'm going to have to stick with my gut on this one and go Jets, I guess.
Yeah, the Bungles, as most people will say, especially Steelers fans, always choke, as you're trying to get to there, Corey. I do believe the Bengals are on the decline as well. They lost Mohamed Sanu, and who is the other wide receiver that's up in Detroit now? Yes, Marvin Jones. Thank you. So now all they have is AJ Green outside. They do have Tyler Boyd, who they drafted out of Pittsburgh. He's from Clairton, Pennsylvania, as their number 2 receiver, and then they have Tyler Eifert, who I think is on the PUP list for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. So without him, the Jets' defense has improved significantly in the past 5 to 8 years. They had Rex Ryan as their head coach for a time, and now they have Todd Bowles, 2 defensive-minded coaches. But offense is, as I've said, puts up the points. Christian Hackenberg does play for the Jets. He's obviously not going to play in this game, though, unless both quarterbacks get injured. Very unlikely to happen. You hardly ever see that, but the Jets have tons of weapons on offense. The offensive line has gotten so much better. They added Ryan Clady in a trade with Denver over the offseason. Nick Mangold at center still. And as you said, Decker and Marshall outside, and the Forte in the backfield. So Jets over the Bengals. And plus, I'm a Steeler fan. I can't pick the Bengals.
All right.
Next game is your New Orleans Saints. They're playing host to the Oakland Raiders. Another game in which both these teams were my playoff predictions. And both quarterbacks in fantasy football. So I'd like it to be high scoring, but who knows if that's going to happen. But the Raiders, I think, will get the win on the road because their defense, led by Khalil Mack, is just a notch better than your New Orleans Saints defense.
Almost any defense is better than the Saints defense. They had the worst defense in the league last season, historically bad.
That was last season. This
finally
season.
Got rid of Rob Ryan. Rob Ryan finally. He absolutely made it worse. Hopefully they can get a little bit better. They have some talent on defense, but it all comes down to the offense for the Saints. And being in the Superdome, that gives them a chance. If it was in Oakland, I would not give the Saints a chance in this game because they're just so bad on the road. They can't win any games outside of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. So it's going to be a close game, I do believe, just because the Saints' offense will be able to keep them in it in the end. And then in the end, I'm going to have to go Raiders in this one. I'm going to have to pick the Raiders to beat the Saints in this one, week 1. I mean, it's just, I like the Saints, but that's not really going to blind my decision here, I guess. It's not going to make or break my decision. I'm going to pick it objectively in this game.
Good enough.
All right. Here's a game that is what will be called, at least, and maybe not to some eyes, I guess, the America's Game of the Week. It will be on Fox, at least called, quote unquote. Giants taking on the Cowboys. It seems to be a week 1 staple now. Giants and Cowboys taking on each other. It's a game where an interesting dynamic. Dak Prescott starting QB for the Cowboys this this season, as Tony Romo will be out for a while now. Picking up Mark Sanchez, I mentioned him earlier, coming to the Cowboys to back him up. Dak Prescott, that is, getting backed up by Sanchez. But it's going to be interesting to see how he plays. You're talking about the Cowboys having basically their offense being run by two rookies here with Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah, Des Bryant is their best probably offensive player, but he doesn't have the ball in his hands all the time. Like, Dak Prescott's going to have the ball in his hands every play on offense, and then Ezekiel will have it more often than not in his hands. So you're talking about the offense being very rookie-dependent. That's not a really good thing. And the better Eli Manning of the Giants, he'll be able to pick on the defense of the Cowboys. He'll be able to get it done, and the Giants are going to win this game in the end.
You said it. You said it good enough there, Corey. I really don't know what to say. Dallas is they're in a tough time right now. You know, Tony Romo hasn't been the same for 2 seasons now. I think it all came crumbling down whenever remember that catch up in Green Bay 2 years ago in the playoffs. It was called incomplete when it looked like it was a catch. It was a catch, in my opinion. They haven't been the same since that game, though. And especially with Romo being injured, you know, Dak Prescott. Yeah, he looked good in preseason. That was a preseason. Not all the starters playing preseason on every team's defense. The Giants do have a new head coach in Ben McAdoo, though. He's from Indiana, Pennsylvania. Do you know that, Corey?
No.
He's been with the Giants system for a while now, so Eli Manning and him are used to one another. Giants also are the Dallas Cowboys.
All right.
I like Sterling Shepard to have a big game.
All right. The next game we're going to do here, on paper, initially, you would think this is like possibly a Super Bowl kind of like preview almost, because Patriots taking on the Cardinals. But the problem is Tom Brady's not going to be playing for the Patriots in this game. He's suspended, of course. So
good for
that
him.
Makes this decision a little bit easier. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be starting quarterback in this game. I'm going to have to take the Cardinals, obviously, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cardinals as well. It's New England's first trip back to Glendale, Arizona since their Super Bowl 49 victory over the Seattle Seahawks as well. But as you said, Jimmy Garoppolo, it's his first career regular season start in a hostile environment. So, especially the game's on Sunday night on NBC. You got to take the Arizona Cardinals. Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Floyd, John Brown, David Johnson. Their offense is stacked. Bruce Arians, head coach, former OC in Pittsburgh. Wish they would have never let him go. He probably would have left by now anyway to take a head coaching job. But Cardinals, big over the New England Patriots. Big.
Yes. They're not too shabby defense either there in Arizona either.
No. And that's where Todd Bowles was before he was the head coach for the Jets. So those guys know how to play on defense.
Yeah, so they are a big threat moving forward into the playoffs, even come end of the season, because they have a pretty good balance of offense and defense.
Yes, they do. I mean, they did make it to the NFC Championship game last year. They did get demolished by Carolina, who represented the NFC in the Super Bowl. But as you said, this is a Super Bowl type matchup, real early in the season, and we'll get those matchups, throughout the whole season as well. Yeah. But who knows? Brady's only suspended for the first 4 games, and as you said before, he's going to come back fighting when he does return. So unless he gets hurt when he does return, so who knows? This might be Super Bowl 51 in Houston come February. This matchup
very well could be. All right, so now the thing about Week 1 in the NFL is that they're for the only time they do this, they have 2 Monday Night Football games. Typically, there's only just the one, but they feature one at an earlier time, like around 7 or so.
6:55 this year. It's real weird. It's normally 7 o'clock on the dot, but
it will be 7. It says 6:55, but
yeah,
you know how it is.
I know.
It's always
like 10 to 12 minutes after what they say kick is going to be, because with all TV commercials and whatnot,
all the previewing
exactly
stuff gets done. So, and then the other one, of course, is at like 10:30ish, something like that.
Yeah. Both on ESPN,
of course, as always.
John Gruden
and
Sean McDonough.
I'm not sure how that's going to go.
He's pretty good. I like him as a broadcaster, as an announcer. He always did the 3:30 game on ABC for college football the past, I don't know how many years. But now Mike Tirico left ESPN for NBC. He'll be calling Sunday night games, I believe. He did for the preseason after the Olympics got over. But who knows? Al Michaels might, still be calling games. As long as Chris Collinsworth is not doing color commentating.
Oh, he will be.
He will be, but he sucks. We could do a better job than he could. So use that hashtag Chris Collinsworth sucks. Get it trending on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatnot. Yeah, Sean McDonough taking over from Mike Tirico. He's a good broadcaster. You'll really like him. But then you can't go wrong with Spider 2Y Banana and John Gruden, can you, Corey?
No, not really.
They'll be calling the Steeler game.
Yes, the first game. The Steelers taking on the Redskins. Luke, you obviously have the Steelers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Pittsburgh over Washington.
I go Redskins over Steelers because I hate the Steelers. So
of course you do.
It's how it goes. It doesn't matter who they're going to play this season. I'm going to pick whoever they're playing against.
Yeah, so each year he thinks they'll go 0-16.
I'll take the Browns over the Steelers. I don't care.
Hey, it's happened before. They've lost every team in the NFL just like everybody else has at one point.
The other game, the late game, is the Rams taking on the 49ers.
Probably going to be called by Chris Berman and Trent Dilfer, I bet. That's what it was last year.
Yeah. I'm going to go Rams in this one. It's really a toss-up kind of thing. Both teams aren't that great. I mean, it's not exactly a big-time Monday Night Football game there, so it's not a game that I'm going to be too interested in watching at all. I probably won't at all. I have an early class in the morning, Tuesday morning, so I won't want to watch it for the case of sleep, I guess you could say. I'd rather watch Monday Night Raw, of course, which I probably will for both games, honestly, because I don't like Steelers, obviously. But I'm going to take the Rams, Todd Gurley, and he's kind of he's basically the difference for me in this game. He's the best player on the entire game, I would say. So, and in this game at least. In
this game, yeah, I have him in fantasy football, so I hope he has a big game. That's a good thing with DVR, though, Corey. You can watch a couple things at once. You record a couple things at once. I will be watching the Steeler game, obviously, because they're Pittsburgh Steelers, my favorite team in the NFL. And then I'll watch the late game, too. And then I'll watch Monday Night Raw, come Tuesday probably, right before SmackDown. One thing leads to another. But as you said, this game is a toss-up. I agree with that. Chip Kelly's offense really hasn't worked as well as he'd like it to so far in the NFL. Not as what it was at Oregon. And everything with Colin Kaepernick distracting the team. I think the Rams are going to win a close one in Santa Clara come Monday night. You said Todd Gurley. Hopefully he has a big game.
All right, you just said something about things leading to another, and you brought up SmackDown, and that's where we're going now. Because we got WWE Backlash, which is the first SmackDown-only pay-per-view since the last brand split, however long ago it was now. So
2010, I believe. I think it's been at least 6
I wasn't
years.
watching WWE at that time, so I'm not 100% sure about all that.
I believe it was 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
I was watching it when it first was the brand split, and then I got off of it right when it ended, basically. Yeah. Around the time it almost ended, I guess. So, anyway, Backlash, first SmackDown pay-per-view. It's going to be interesting to see how long it goes, I guess. It's scheduled for 8. We'll see if it goes 3 hours like most pay-per-views have, but it's going to be hard. Of course, SmackDown doesn't have exactly the talent level of Raw. They don't have as many people, so they can't have as many matches.
I was thinking about that last night, because look at Monday Night Raw. It's 3 hours. The Raw pay-per-views are probably going to be 3 hours. SmackDown's only 2 hours. Is the SmackDown pay-per-views, are they only going to be 2 hours? They did add another match after SmackDown Live went off the air last night. We'll get to hear it in a second. So it might go... It's definitely going to be 2 hours.
Yeah.
I could see it being 2.5. I don't think it's going to hit the 3 hour
unless
mark.
The matches go a long time.
Unless they do, and if they do, the matches I could see would be the 2 title matches that people are going to care about, being the Intercontinental and the WWE World Championship. I don't think anybody's going to care about the Women's Championship and the tag team. Maybe about the tag team. But, just don't know, because these 2 championships are brand new to SmackDown Live. Yeah. And then you also have a singles match, which should be really interesting.
Yeah, a good singles match. I mean, The women's match will probably go a while because it's supposed to be an elimination six-pack challenge, so you're going to have 5 eliminations, so obviously it might go a little longer. It has the capability to, at least.
Half hour, 40 minutes maybe?
Yeah, just for just sheer amount of superstars that are in the match. So anyway, we talked about, you just mentioned it, there's an added match, and it's this one. It's the Usos taking on the Hype Brothers to get into the finals. But if you watched SmackDown last night, you're thinking, wait a minute, American Alpha won, didn't they?
Yeah,
so
they
made
did.
the finals. But the Usos beat the crap out of Gable, and now they're basically being rolled out of the match.
Yeah,
So the Usos and Hype Bros are getting a second chance because they both lost their respective matches to get to the finals. And so this is a second chance. I'm going to take the Usos. They're getting it after hurting Gable, of course. And they're going to win this one, taking on Slater and Rhino later in the night for the tag titles. So, and it also gives you the heel versus face dynamic, kind of. So it just makes sense in the end, almost.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the Usos did hurt Chad Gable. He has an MCL sprain in his knee. I know how bad that hurts. I've done that in both of my knees, also ACL sprains and meniscus. But they did have the match between Slater and Rhino and the Hype Bros already, so they're not going to have it again for the championship. So I agree with you, and it would be good for heel babyface. So yeah, Usos will beat the Hype Bros, and then Heath Slater and Rhino will beat the Usos for SmackDown Live's first ever tag team championship.
All right, so you've given your predictions for that. I'll go to that now.
Yeah.
Usos versus Slater and Rhino for the tag team
Yeah,
championship.
I went a little too far there.
I'm going Slater Rhino as well because Slater will finally get that contract that they've been going for a very long time now, and also win the titles along the way. So good on him. But I think they'll get an assist from maybe Jason Jordan, possibly of American Alpha. Maybe he'll interrupt the Usos or something, possibly.
I don't know. Maybe
for retribution for hurting Gable. But
that's a good possibility, and then that would set up a feud with American Alpha and Usos once Chad Gable is able to return.
Yeah, but I think
whenever that may be,
definitely Slater and Rhino to win this. I feel like this has been the conclusion the whole time since they introduced the titles and Slater came out and Bryan giving him the ultimatum to win the tag team titles just to get a contract. I mean, it kind of sets itself up. Almost.
The funny thing about this, though, when Heath Slater was trying to get his contract on SmackDown the first time, Rhino was the one who came back and defeated him in a match. Yet now they're tag team partners, going after the tag team championship. But that's what WWE does to you. They make you think this didn't happen when it did, and then, so on and so forth. But, yeah, I have Slater and Rhino winning, and Slater gets his SmackDown Live contract.
All right.
And his so he can pay for the pole or whatever the hell he wants for his wife and 7 kids. When really he has 2 kids in real life.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to the match that doesn't have any championship implications on it. It's Bray Wyatt taking on Randy Orton in a match that has had some pretty interesting promos leading up to it, I would have to say, from both men, actually, especially last night.
Surprisingly, from especially Randy Orton, but Bray Wyatt, he brings those promos week in and week out.
Especially Orton, yeah. But I'm going to have to go Bray Wyatt because he needs to win a high-profile match like this, and he hasn't really won these. Also, I feel like Orton's best days are behind him. I would have to say. He might get a championship run here or there at the end of his career now, but he should be putting guys over like Bray Wyatt, I believe, at this point in his career.
Hopefully. I mean, I'd really like to see Bray win. Hopefully he does. I'm going to pick Bray to win. But, I mean, Orton did get his head busted open by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, so, they might have that, storyline for Orton to come back and maybe get to that last championship in his career.
Yeah. This is the match that I don't really know what
exactly. Yeah, we really don't know what happened, but you got to tune into WWE Network.
It's one of these matches where it's like it's not a high profile, like a feud almost. It just kind of happened almost. You could say, I feel like just to kind of have a spot here to make the pay per view actually last long enough.
WWE Network is only $9.99 a month, but yet I got charged $10.59 the other day. So, if anybody else is, I mean, it does make sense. It's just tax on it. But it's the first time that ever happened. So I'm still wondering why it happened and if anybody else has had that problem. So if you have the WWE Network and you normally pay $9.99 a month for it, but for the month of September you got charged $10.59, please let me know, because I don't think I'm going to be the only one. I did contact WWE. They have not gotten back to me yet. But let me know. Hit me up on Twitter.
All right. We'll go to the Women's Championship match, the Women's Six-Pack Challenge for that women's title. First SmackDown Women's title, I guess, is the proper title for it. The winner of this Six-Pack Challenge, we know who's in it. It's all the women that are on SmackDown
Yes,
Live.
it's Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Carmella, Naomi, Natalya, and Nikki Bella.
And that's who's going to win. Nikki Bella's going to win. She shouldn't, but she will, honestly. The thing is, she has more marketability than all the other ones. She's a well-recognized face amongst especially casual fans.
Yes.
So she's more marketable than all the other ones. Of course, the fans in the crowd, they're going to want Becky Lynch to win, obviously.
Yeah.
Me too.
I do, yeah.
But it's going to be
here.
Nikki Bella because it just kind of makes more sense for WWE from a WWE standpoint. You have this new title. You want to put it on someone that will get the people talking about it, like casual people more so than the actual hardcore wrestling fans, you could say.
I agree with you. I'd really like to see Becky Lynch win, but I agree with you. It's going to be Nikki and Becky as the final two competitors in this match, though. And who knows? Maybe Brie Bella returns and, helps Nikki out. Maybe she comes back and helps Becky out. And then, maybe Brie is able to wrestle. Maybe she wants to get back in the ring. And we have another feud between Nikki and Brie Bella. We'll have to see come Sunday night.
Yeah,
both of us would really like to see Becky Lynch win.
Definitely. All right. Now we go to the most prestigious title on SmackDown Live. It's the Intercontinental Championship. It's The Miz taking on Dolph Ziggler.
Because he's awesome. And he is the title. If you listen to his promo on Talking Smack, he says he's the title. Yeah.
So I'm taking The Miz. I love The Miz. He's the best heel in the company right now, I believe, at being a pure heel, at least.
He is.
In terms of getting, booze and stuff.
That's what he's good at.
That's perfect. His character fits it perfectly as
Yeah.
well. So, and he plays the character pretty much perfectly.
He's a baby face. No one likes him. If he's a heel, everybody likes him.
Well,
it's opposite. It's normally if you're a baby face, everybody likes you, and if you're a heel, no one likes you. But it's opposite for The Miz.
Yeah, but he's the best heel
because
right
he's
now.
awesome.
Yeah, best heel definitely on SmackDown, definitely.
Maybe in the WWE.
I think in the WWE in total as a pure heel. Because of course,
other than Seth Rollins, but we're going to be seeing a babyface turn for him.
He pretty much is already.
Yeah,
you could say.
Because with Kevin Owens, winning.
Yeah, but he needs to hold this title for a while, I do believe. Forget about Ziggler. He's just getting random championship matches out of nowhere now, I would have to say. Because he's getting a world title shot, and now he's getting an Intercontinental Championship shot.
Maybe he's leaving the company.
I don't know about that, but
Alberto Del Rio is.
Well,
he's on SmackDown.
He can't take his roids for.
Well, it's that, but then he asked for his release a couple months ago.
Because he got suspended, and he's saying screw it, basically.
Yeah, he'll go back to Lucha Underground in AAA wrestling.
Yeah. So look who they have in this match.
Oh yeah, we forgot it. We got off track there. Both these guys are from Cleveland, Ohio. UFC 203 is in Cleveland, by the way, too. I said that earlier. Both these guys are real good friends in real life. The Miz is a real-life actor. Dolph Ziggler was once part of the Spirit Squad. If you didn't know that, go look it up. But I'm awesome. The Miz is awesome. I can't pick Dolph Ziggler. I got to pick the guy who's awesome that relates to me. That's The Miz.
It's The Miz.
The Miz will defeat Dolph Ziggler.
He will keep and continue on the never-ending Intercontinental Championship World Tour.
It's been 160, 70 days maybe now.
It is getting up there. Yes.
And then you have Maurice, too. You can't go wrong with Maurice.
No, you can't. All right. Main event will be Dean Ambrose taking on AJ Styles for the WWE World Championship. Dean Ambrose is going to win this match, and he'll continue to hold on to this title for a while, in my opinion. As an aside, Styles is supposed to be continuing a feud with John Cena when Cena comes back, at least.
Which should be next week, I'd assume.
Yeah, and it would be nicer if the title was on the line, but it won't, I honestly believe. You need more stuff. Also, there's a show in State College. Currently, the card's saying Dean Ambrose is defending the title at it. So
well, it's a live event. He's obviously He might have it by then. He might not. He might lose it this Sunday. We'll have to see because they change that stuff.
Yeah.
All the time. There's a live event here at the Bryce Jordan Center, September 25th at 1 o'clock. It's also the same day as Clash of Champions. When they first announced this, I'm thinking to myself, well, that's the same day as that pay-per-view. But this was before the brand split. So I didn't think through everything there. So who knows if Ambrose is going to have the title, come that day. I know both of us will be there, to see our favorite superstars. We talked about that in our Q&A when we did that the week before Labor Day. We'll get that out to you guys when we feel like it. Hopefully here soon. We'll make sure we said this was recorded on so-and-so date. But yeah, Dean Ambrose defending against AJ Styles. It's a phenomenal one. As you said, Cena will probably be coming back hopefully next week. You know who else is coming back next week, Corey? To WWE? Yeah, exactly. Kurt Hawkins, Chuck Norris. That's how they're building them up.
Yeah.
Facts. But I have AJ Styles winning his first championship in WWE this Sunday at Backlash.
All right. You say Styles. I'm assuming that's personal. However.
Well, I like both these guys. For superstars. So, I think they finally give it to AJ though.
Possibly. He is the face that runs the place.
Yeah, the new face that runs the place. Yeah.
No, he doesn't say the new. He is
they did say that last night, but then they said the face that runs the place as well. So, but yeah, Cena should be coming back next week as well. WWE is actually going over to China this weekend for live events over there, and obviously Cena is the face of the company. Has been for how many years? Still currently is. So that's why he hasn't been on television, on WWE programming since SummerSlam, because it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't work right, especially with Backlash 2 weeks after SummerSlam. So, yeah. Styles will win. And then Cena will come back, won a championship match, but then Ambrose will come out, saying he wants his rematch, and then we'll probably triple threat it. No Mercy in the middle of October.
All right. That's Luke's take on it.
Right now. As of right now.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's get into the end of the show now. It's time for the question of the week this week. And we had a hard time thinking of stuff. Then we look back at our UFC and we're like, hey, yeah, this could work here.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with the UFC, one of the matches. It is kind of a big thing, CM Punk's match that we predicted. He has Punk, I have Gall in the match. But who do you think is going to win that match? Will CM Punk win his UFC debut? That is the question of the week this week. Will he win that UFC debut? We already have our answers in, so...
I said yes. Corey said no.
All right, so Punk or Gall, that is the question of the week this week. And that's where we're going to wrap it up. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ATGL16. All those links available in the description of this video. Answer the question of the week on Facebook or Twitter by voting in the poll. You can follow Luke at Luke96 and at CAMains14 on Twitter as well. And don't forget to buy our merch, which you can contact us about on all the social media platforms or emailing us at acrossthegoalline2016 at gmail.com. And for Luke Goddard, I'm Corey Mains, and we will see you on the next edition of Across the Goal Line, live from the field.